What's cracking, everyone? My name is Ryan, aka Skeeb23, and today I want to talk to you guys about a little duel action. That's right, I'm going to talk to you guys about the Aeon2 Noire versus the Focal Radiance, a little high-end closed-back competition. All right, so we're going to go ahead and talk about build quality first. Now, for the Focal Radiance, the build quality here is pretty solid. You've got the metal grille, you've got the leather, kind of leather wrapped steering wheel look, if you will, under the grille. You've got that beautiful copper rose gold colored accents throughout the headphone, which is, to do with the Bentley partnership. And then on the Dan Clark Aeon2 Noirs, you've got a all black look. It is a gloss finish on the cups, so fingerprint magnets, if you're, somebody that doesn't like fingerprints, just beware on that part of it. Both of them are built very solid. The headband on each of one of them gives you good clamp force. I would say the Focal Radiance is going to be a bit more clampy than the Aeon2 Noirs, but they both seal very well to the head. And then as we get into the comfort aspect of the headphones, I would say both of these are pretty comfortable headphones. I would give a nod to the Dan Clark Aeon2 Noire as far as weight goes. It's a little bit lighter. It feels a little more cushiony on your head, kind of like, your head falling on a pillow, feels pretty good on the head. I did get a hot spot the first time I used the Aeon2 Noirs, but that quickly went away. So that is something I have heard others getting, but it does seem to go away pretty well. With the Radiance, it's a little bit heavier, but still it's very comfortable. I don't notice the weight, but I will say the clamp force is a little bit tighter on the Focal Radiance, seals a little bit more. And with that, because the cups are, closer to your ears, it's not that egg shape, it's more of just a typical round shape. It can get a little hot because they are all leather pads. And especially during the summer months, that is something to note on the Aeon2 Noirs because they're, more of a, I say egg, but it's kind of a V, end on the end of it. You do get a little more room on the inside around your ears, so it's not quite as hot, but they are still closed back headphones, so closed back in general nature is going to be warmer on the head. All right, so let's get right into the sound quality then, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go start with the low end first, and I'm going to talk about both headphones and kind of trade blows here and tell you what, I think you're going to find with either of these. So they both extend very well. They both have a lot of fullness to their bass. In fact, closed back headphones typically will have more bass than an open back. These are no different. In fact, I would say they are a little better in that nature. They sound wonderful in the lows. Bass heads alike, I think, are going to enjoy either of these headphones. But there are some things to note here. With the Radiance, there have been some pad variations that have been found, whether it is truly the pads or it is just something different that people are finding with different shapes of heads type thing. I have talked to some that actually need to do a bass shelf, which surprises me because I don't need any bass shelf at all with the Radiance. But just be wary of that. There is that out there with the Radiance. With the Noire, not so much. The Noire seems to be pretty consistent with everybody on how they feel the bass is. The planar bass of the Noire is very good. It's very in your chest. The bass of the Radiance is that dynamic driver bass. It's very colored in my opinion. And no, I wouldn't say colored like it's boomy or, overpowers the mid-range or the treble. It's just a really nice present bass to me, to where it makes some genres of music really stand out and, just in your face, just you feel that bass, you hear that bass. With the Noire, it's going to be more of that smooth, low-end bass, but there's no mistaking that these suckers, they got some bass to them, guys. With the mid-range, both of these sound very, very present in the mids. They both are, I would say, your classic boring signature, although these are not boring by any means, in that there's not a lot of deviations in the mid-range line. They are going to measure pretty, I guess, consistently almost flat in the mids, but they sound very present. They're not mid-forward by any means. Maybe in some songs they could be, but they're definitely not pushed back. You can get a good solid sense of a vocalist that you're listening to. If you like tracks like that, if you're a vocalist-based genre listener, you're going to like either of these, I would say. One thing to note on the Radiance is I do find some shoutiness every now and then in that 2K, 3K range. Just to give you an example, I don't know why, but on Nora Jones' song, Don't Know Why, See what I did there? You know, I do get some shoutiness just when she has that first word of the verses that she does. That's when I notice that shout. I always sample that track when I'm trying to listen for shout in that range because I just find it to be a good way to find that on a headphone. Now, the Noire, I did not get that. The Noire was very consistent. No shoutiness at all from any track that I sampled anyway with those. Either way, they both sound great in the mids. Now, one other thing to note, and is something really good to know, is that the Noire being a planar and the Focal being a dynamic, you're going to get different qualities with the dynamics out of these headphones. Focal is known for its punch and its slam, and the Radiance is no different there. The Noire is a little limp, as I had said in the past. You know, it's not going to be as energetic on that part of the mid-range as far as, you know, drums and things just hitting, but it's got some speed. So you do have trade-offs with either one depending on what you're trying to go for. If dynamics aren't as big of a deal for you for that punch and slam, then either of these are going to be great. But if it is a big deal to you, then I could see the Radiance being a preference there. So that is something to note. Also, genre-wise, I think they both handle genres very well in the mid-range with multiple genres, albeit I'd say the Radiance is probably, for me anyway, my preference when I'm going to listen to rock or metal or things like that, just because I get that punchiness and things. It just makes it exciting for me when I listen to that type of music. All right, and that will lead us into the treble. And here we go again, because I am going to talk about some, you know, trade-offs and things that you're going to have with each of these in the treble region. The Radiance is more of a darker signature in the treble, but it's not a dark headphone. So I hope that makes sense. It doesn't mean that you don't get any treble, you don't get any kind of presence there, because you do. It's just you're going to get it a little bit more with the Noire, sometimes a bit much. Up in that 5-6K region of the Noire, you're definitely going to get some stabbiness to it. It's going to be a little spicy in the treble there at times. Now that can be tuned or toned. Tongue-tied with the T's. Now that can be toned down a little bit with the pads, with the filter inserts that you get for the pads with the Noire. The white ones especially can kind of tone down that, you know, peakiness there. Now, I don't personally do that only because it doesn't bother me so much that I feel I need to. But if you're very sensitive to that range, to highs, that is something you probably should look into doing, and it doesn't seem to bother too much of the dynamics of the headphone by putting those filters in there, but just be cautious. That is something that could happen. However, with the Radiance, definitely none of that. There's no sibilance, you know, anything like that. Even sibilant tracks sounded a little better on the Radiance than they did the Noire, but that's also due to the fact that Noire's got more air to it. So, and we're going to get into that here soon when I talk about something else, but with that extra bit of air, like I said, you're not going to get that out of the Radiance, you get that out of the Noire, so you're going to trade blows there. Both of these are closed back headphones. Both of these are more of an intimate soundstage. If I had to give one an edge over another, I would probably give that to the Noire, simply because it does have more air in that treble region. So to me, that gives you just this sense of a little more space, but still, I wouldn't say, you know, either of these are going to be stage kings, even though they are closed backs. You know, there might be some better options out there for stage if that's that big of a thing to you. But they're also not so intimate that I think of something like a, you know, my Clear MG Pros that I had. Those were very intimate, and I think the Radiance is even a little wider than that, although probably not by much. Detail retrieval, again, I'm going to edge that out a little bit to the Noire. Not to say the Radiance isn't detailed, because they both are. But again, with that airiness and things, I do feel I get a little more details. I could pinpoint, you know, a little more instruments out with the Noires over the Radiance, especially tracks that I knew where to listen to it for. I could definitely pinpoint that, as I said, again, out of the Noires over the Radiance. And then imaging, I think, is pretty equal here. I honestly wouldn't necessarily edge out one over the other with imaging. I think they are both very good, very represented of the images, where they're coming from. Ranges and things like that were all very, very good. And then the last thing with the overall sound signature, again, I'm going to touch on the dynamics and just say that if you want a punchy, slammy headphone, you're going to want the Radiance. If that is not that big of a deal to you, feel free to choose either. I've never really heard of somebody saying they don't like that quality, but I suppose if you didn't, Noire is going to be your flavor there. And then along with that, I would say probably if you're somebody that's really into classical music, really into jazz and things like that, I would probably edge out the Noire, being the planar. I just feel like planars in general play better at that genre than something like a dynamic driver, but that definitely does not encompass every headphone out there. So just take that with a grain of salt when I say that. All right, so one other interesting thing I wanted to talk about with these two headphones is speed and decay, and just the difference between a planar and a dynamic, such as the Focal. So with speed, when I listen to the song Das Spiegel by the Chemical Brothers, that's a really good song to sample for speed, by the way, if you want to know what I'm talking about. With the Noire, it just kept up so well. Just, each note, boom, 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 was just moving right on one after the other with no problem with the speed. With the Radiance, did the same thing, although not quite as fast, if that makes sense. However, this is where that dynamic punchiness and slam really came in. I just found that to be more of a fun listen on the Radiance than I did on the Noire. On the Noire, I think of that as more an analytical type listen, and I think that's the nature of the two drivers, the two different drivers that you're going to get out of these in general, and is something to note because think about the different genres of music and where that can come into play, and I shouldn't have to tell you about that. You can, come to the conclusion yourself, but that is something to note, as I said, for these two headphones, and something I found very interesting when I listened just to that track on either one. All right, so to kind of wrap this thing up, hopefully you kind of see what I'm doing here, talking about both headphones in the sound range, and that they both have pluses and, minuses, I guess, on things that they're going to offer for you. The last thing would be price. The Noires are about $900. The Radiance are about $1,200. The Radiance is a limited time offer headphone, so you're not going to be able to find these new for who knows how much longer. They seem to do some runs every now and then from Focal, still releasing them, but we don't know how much longer that's going to happen. The Noires are just another headphone that's released, so they're going to be new. You're going to be able to find them a lot easier. Now, if you went the used route, then the Radiance is probably going to be priced about the same as the Noire. And really, by then, it just comes down to what you value. Do you like the Bentley partnership? Do you like the look of this over the Noire? Does that even matter to you? If you're going to sound, all kinds of factors in there. So I'm not going to tell you, yes, choose this one over this one. I'm going to tell you I like them both, and I'm lucky enough to like them both, to where I can't give you a solid recommendation other than to go through what I talked about and try to choose what you think based on what you're going to listen to with them. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed this comparison video. I am going to do some more of these here in the future as I, get more headphone reviews out to you guys. But for right now, I hope I helped some of you make a decision, or maybe I just drove all of you more crazy. If I did, I apologize for that, but that sometimes does happen in this hobby. So with that, I will let you guys get back to doing whatever it is that you do. I am going to get back to listening to these. I also have the new Odyssey MM500s that I'm working on a review on, so I'll get that out to you guys here soon. And again, just please leave me some comments down below of things you want to see in the future. Do you like these kind of videos? Do you want to see more of these kind of videos? Do you want to see different things about these kind of videos? Smash that like button if you liked it. Please subscribe to the channel for future content, and I will see you in the next one.